What's going on, everybody? This is Everyday Tech with Stan JB, and recently Google has finally released the Pixel 4a, but then they also unceremoniously canceled or discontinued the Pixel 4 and 4 XL. So what's going on there? Obviously we see Google's doing some new things, trying some new stuff out, but before we get into that, I kind of wanted to go back and talk about one of their most hated phones of last year, the Pixel 4 XL. So let's go back, see what went wrong, and see what they actually got right that I think a lot of people overlooked. Let's get into this. Now, of course, before we get into the video, I definitely would like you guys to like and subscribe to this. Hit that bell icon so you know when I drop new videos. Also, please comment. Let me know what you guys want to see and what I did wrong and what I did right and what you love about these videos, because I want to constantly improve for you guys, alright? Let's go. Now I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. I'm going to break it down as fast as possible. First thing first is the design. I honestly thought that this design was fantastic with one or two hiccups. Now, the back of it, it's almost perfect. Of course, people made fun of it saying, oh, it copied iPhone's camera bump, but then now look, everyone has that, so I guess that wasn't that important. But they did it better. It's one piece of glass. There's no three lenses sticking out. The only people that made that look good was Samsung. The way iPhone did it was, could have been better. Now, the front of the phone is where a lot of people had problems, and I don't really agree with them. You see, one thing people did not like about this device is the bezels. Now, I can understand some people not liking the top bezel. It's fairly large. Obviously, it has reason to be there with the face unlock and the Soli radar, but people also didn't like the chin. I think if this bothers you, you're being a bit pretentious. Let's be honest. I also like the bezels a little bit more than a hole punch for one reason. One reason only, and that's when I am watching any type of video content. I don't like having a little hole in the way. That's the only reason. Day-to-day use, scrolling through the phone, notch, bezel, forehead, nothing bothers me because honestly we're human and our eyes are immediately going to focus on the screen. So I think they did a good job there. Hopefully with the new Pixel they can either shrink that bezel or find a way to get rid of it and still have that Soli radar, because I think the face unlock and the behind the scenes gestures for the Soli radar were actually pretty cool. Now, of course, another pleasure point of the Pixel 4 XL is definitely the camera. I am always blown away with how easy and consistent this camera is. One of the best in the game, if not the best in the game. Even with these new cameras coming out, such as the S20 Ultra, the Note 20 Ultra, they're fantastic. They're amazing cameras, but there's still some things that Google just does better. And I will say it's been a very consistent experience using that camera. Regardless if it's low light, if it's bright outside, if something's moving, it's been fantastic. I love it. The video does need work, though. I will give them that. You see, it's not that it's terrible, but when you compare it to something like, let's say, the $400 iPhone SE, the video just does not look that good. And now for me to demo the camera, I'm going to use our model, Mikey. Yep, look at her dance. But as you can see, the Pixel 4 XL camera isn't bad at all. It just doesn't stand up to, like, the iPhone. It's crazy. A $400 phone camera beats out this guy's camera when it comes to video. And that's not saying that it's bad. It's just third place, maybe fourth place when it comes to the cell phone game. With everything Google can do with their software magic, you would think they'd figure out the video. And I'm hoping that's what we see next, but it's not quite there. Another problem with the video was the lack of options. We didn't get 4K 60, and that's something that everyone loves. There's no reason for us not to have 4K 60. The chipset that's available in this guy, definitely capable of doing that. So whatever reason Google had for not allowing us 4K 60, that was ridiculous. And also, speaking of lack of features, with their main camera, they should have gave us ultra wide. I'm not even a guy that uses ultra wide, but they should have gave us ultra wide. And I know everyone's freaking out because Google's main camera guy decided to leave the company or got pushed out of the company, whatever happened. But you gotta remember, he's the same one that said telephoto is more important than ultra wide. How many of you guys agreed with that? Now, one part where the Pixel is definitely underappreciated is the performance. You see, this guy doesn't have the best specs. Pixels aren't about the specs. Specs are Samsung's game. Software is Google's game. So they don't really care about putting the latest, greatest, fastest, biggest numbers in their phone. They rather put good stuff in their phone that helps their software run extremely well. And I gotta tell you, this guy is smooth. This guy is buttery smooth. I love it. I haven't had a hiccup. I don't even notice RAM issues with only 6 gigs of RAM. I mean, I keep as many apps open as possible. And honestly, I never really close my apps, and I'll go in there and be like, oh great, I have 20 apps open. And it'll be immediate app. It'll be like YouTube, 2 games, a podcast. I don't know why I do this to myself, but whatever torture I do to myself, this guy's been able to help me. This guy's been able to keep up. And this guy makes it look easy. So it kind of makes you think about these guys who push in these big numbers, these 12 gigs of RAM, 108 megapixel cameras, yada, yada, yada. It just doesn't feel important when I use this guy. This guy is buttery smooth. That 90 hertz is fantastic. Despite having issues at the beginning with the variable rate, it's amazing now. Google does their thing where they send out updates. So whatever hiccups you had at the beginning of this device life, that's probably gone by now. Now I know, it sounds like I'm just being a Google fanboy, but I wanted to get the good out the way because there are some bad with this phone. Granted, some of the bad a lot of tech reviewers talked about was nitpicky, but in reality there are about 2 to 3 issues with this phone that prevent it from being as good as it could have been. Number 1 is battery life. Now this guy has I want to say 31,080 mAh battery. I'll fix that terrible number I said in post edit. But it's just not enough. Let me specify. It's enough if you're doing moderate usage throughout the day. But by the end of the night, probably even before you go to bed, you're going to have to charge it again. Or you're going to feel more comfortable if you charge it again. Granted, adaptive battery helps stretch that battery life to good levels. I get about 5 hours every day. But I notice if I do any type of media consumption or gaming, that battery drains quick. And that's just something that no matter how well you optimize your software, that's one of the things where Google has to focus on hardware because battery life is very important, and that's where they dropped the ball big time. That was the biggest issue with this phone. They just did not have the battery life, especially to compete with the iPhone 11 Pro that came out that just blew everyone else out of the water with its smaller battery with better optimization. They know what to do. Google haven't quite figured that out. So if you can't figure it out, Google, put a bigger battery in there. I wouldn't mind if this boy was a little thicker, just to have a better battery. Second problem I noticed with this guy, price. It's an expensive phone in a sense. We got $1,400 phones, so saying $800 base price is expensive sounds weird. But you got to hear me out. This only comes with 64 gigs at $800. Doesn't have an ultra wide. It does have Soli radar, which we have to pay for. But when you look at the competition and what they were charging, it just didn't make sense. It wasn't competitively priced. Now, if Google actually dropped the 64 gigs and made the 128 gig base model and then charged $800, we'd have been a little bit more okay with that. Especially if they added a 256 model and only charged $50 more. That would have been amazing. That would have been a much easier pill to swallow than $800 for 64 gigs. Google and Apple, y'all got to get rid of 64 gigs. There is no room in the market for that. And if you're going to charge these prices for phones, throw that out. Just get rid of it. Those are the 2 biggest issues, honestly, with the Pixel 4 and 4 XL. Battery and price. Listen, sometimes work gets boring and I start playing like Crush the Mall or something because nothing else is happening. I want to do that all day. I don't want my phone to die. Simple as that. And when it comes to price, Yes, there's the argument that Pixels generally go on sale like a month after they are released. I want to go more into the expensive problem we're having with phones, especially because Samsung just dropped $1,000 plastic phone with 1080p and 60Hz screen. So I'm probably going to save my price rant for this phone on a video that has to do with that phone as well. I'm going to hold back today. Alright, Google, you got off lucky. But those are two problems that people don't want to deal with. The average consumer doesn't want to overspend for a device they're just going to feel okay with. Now, I will say the things Google does right makes this a fantastic phone. Day by day, using this device, you're going to love it. You're not going to have a hiccup. It's super easy. The best software experience, in my opinion. And I think that's an underrated feature. And it's simply the software experience. So yes, it's a flawed device. But if you want one of the easiest, most cohesive software experiences with one of the best cameras in a cute little package, I do recommend this. Especially now that it is discontinued, you will find a lot of sales. But if you are the guy that wants that spec-heavy phone that's going to last you all day and you have nothing to worry about, if you want to show off using the latest hardware, oh, Samsung's your guy. That's what they're great at. That Note 20 Ultra, whew, if I wasn't broke, I'd have it right now. I'd be doing a review on it and you guys would not be seeing this video. But you know what? For $450 with a trade-in deal, hell, even if I paid the full $800, I'm happy. And I'm excited to see what Google does with the Pixel 5. They're not going to do the biggest flagship, so the price problem should be gone. But I don't think we're going to have a performance problem neither. So let's sit back and wait and see what Google has up their sleeve. And that's all I really got to say. That's all I really feel about this. If you have any disagreements or anything else you want to say, or let me know, drop in the comments. Let me know what you feel about the Pixel 4 XL. Let me know what you're excited about when it comes to the new Pixel 5. Alright? So once again, this is Everyday Tech. Thank you for hearing me rant about devices. And peace.